All right, 2 words for training this week. Shooting practice. What's up, guys, and welcome to the Blues and Stripes. So a very, very, very dull first performance of the season, and it's crazy to me that after 2 very good preseason performances where we went out there, we looked exciting, we looked dangerous, we looked like a team. First match of the season, we got players ball running under their feet, can't get a touch, can't shoot, can't pass, players jogging around. And on top of all of that, you got a manager who looked at the preseason, looked at how well we played, trying to get the ball forward quickly, and said, we don't do that around here. We need to go back to last season. Because last season, I felt like that's where more so I wanted to be, where we only dominate for like the first 10, 15 minutes of the game, and then we just constantly pass it back, and we don't look to try to get down the field quickly. And I will say, Maresca bought some time at the end of last season, and obviously in the Club World Cup, but he hasn't really convinced me yet, because winning in the Club World Cup is not going to be as difficult as trying to manage during a season when you've got multiple competitions to deal with. When you only have the one tournament to focus on, it's a lot easier to figure out your tactics, figure out who to play, and all of that stuff. But when you get to an actual season and you have to do it over a long stretch, that's where you do need your managers to step up and show what they're capable of over a long period, not over just one stretch of one-off games, basically. And that's why for me personally, as good as the Champions League win under Tuchel was, he was more of a tournament manager because he could manage those one-off games very well. But over the stretch of a season, we always seemed to fall just slightly short. We were never really pushing for a title with him. But yeah, this very much felt like a game from last season. We were comfortable in the first 10, 15 minutes. We looked dangerous, getting the ball in, trying to create some chances. Shooting wasn't quite there, but it felt like as long as we kept with that sort of style of play, we would be able to create more chances and eventually one would find the net. And then suddenly we just stopped. Suddenly we went back to what we saw. Dropping it back. One-on-one chances with our wingers? No. Let's go backwards. Let's go backwards with it. Let's go back to our defense. Let's have our defense pass it. Let's have our keeper pass it. Why? Where did this come from? Why did Maresca suddenly say, hey guys, let's do what we did last season? Because that worked out so well, right? It came out of nowhere because nothing that we saw in preseason showed me that we were going to do this. And honestly, through the first 2 preseason matches, there was a fire about the team, there was energy, there was excitement. Seemed to be a connectivity between a lot of these players too. But with this one, again, players were jogging around. It felt like Palace were so much more ready and fit for this match, even though we looked pretty fit in preseason. So I don't know if we just dropped off a whole hell of a lot, or if maybe I was giving AC Milan a little too much credit when I said that they gave us a game. But like I said, you had some players, Fernandez couldn't get a touch on the ball. There were points where it felt like Pedro and Palmer were not really working themselves. James at one point as well was jogging. That connectivity we saw in preseason as well was gone. At one point, Cucurella throws the ball to Gittins and he runs the opposite way. Palmer had a few passes to Gittins where he had no idea where the pass was about to go. So it just felt like our first 2 preseason matches, we looked like a team that were in shape, fit, connected, looked ready to go. And then the first match of the season, it looked like a preseason match where everybody's still kind of growing into it. So I don't know how that works. And I'm not going to discredit Palace and say that they didn't play well, because they did. They're very good about knowing how to break up a lot of the attacks. They're very good about sitting a bit deeper and breaking quickly. They did their part very well. But the problem is I think we have enough quality to where we can open up that block now. We saw that a bit against AC Milan where they were sitting deeper. Yes, they had 10 men, but they were packing it in. It was difficult to play around that, but we found a way. There was a lot of movement. There were players making runs in behind. Some players dropping a bit deeper. That's the other thing. Pedro never dropped deep today. He just stayed up top the whole time. And we did not see that at all in the Club World Cup or in preseason. He likes to get in and get on the ball. And it felt like the message to him today was, hey, stay up top. You stay up there. You don't ever come back deeper. Don't ever come back. I don't understand. Why make that change? The other change that Maresca made that made no sense to me, he's playing Palmer on the left side. And Fernandez is coming up into the right. Palmer's better on the right. We know this. Even the couple of matches where he played left wing in the Club World Cup, you could tell he's less comfortable on that side. He's much better when he starts center and sort of moves out to the right. So why did that change today? Why was Palmer coming in from the left? He looks so much less effective on that side. So for Maresca today, this stoked a lot of the fears that I have about him in charge. I still don't think he's a quality enough manager to get us over the line and actually get us to a title challenge. And I think today showed a lot of the gaps in his game that are going to cause that. And again, I'm not saying he can't eventually get to that point, but right now he's not ready. And it feels like he's still got at least a few more years before he's actually up to the level that we need him to be as a manager. Because there's so many things that he's doing incorrectly that he should have already learned from last season. And he's still making those same mistakes. So Maresca today really dropped the ball. Talk about the one controversial moment. I mean, it's in the rules. You can't be within a yard of the wall. I didn't realize it was considered like a penalization that we now get the ball, but whatever the case, that's the rule. The two funny things about it are, first of all, shouldn't even matter. It should just be a foul because he basically picked up Caicedo and moved him. It's one thing if you're going shoulder to shoulder and you're shoving him out of the way with your shoulder. It's another thing to dip your shoulder in, get up under him, and almost, he didn't use his hands, but he almost picked him up with his leg and moved him out of the way. It was a lot more than just a simple, oh, I'm just moving him out. No, you picked him up out of the way. But also the fact that the foul that gave them the free kick wasn't even a foul. Cucurella just swung at the ball, Hughes poked it through, and then Cucurella missed the ball and him, and then Hughes goes down like he'd just been shot. And even looked at the referee, I would say with puppy dog eyes, but really they were bulldog eyes. Because he was trying to scare him, and the referee got scared and gave him the foul. Yeah, anybody who's claiming that should have counted, there's so much about it that it should not have counted, so it ended up being a good decision in the end by VAR. One more thing before I get into individuals, I just remembered I forgot to say this as well. For Maresca, the subs today were uninspired. They're basically the same thing that we saw last season, where wing comes on, wing comes off. Striker comes on, striker comes off. Right back on, right back off. Center mid on, center mid off. That's it. That's all he can do, is just like for like switches. Granted, not all of them are. I think Delap and Pedro are two different types of players. Esteval and Gittins are two different types of players. So technically they are not like for like, but they're still just, let's just switch the players. Let's just switch who's playing in there right now. And that's all we're going to do. And it's too basic. You could see the way we were playing, the way we were set up, it wasn't working. You have to make some more switches than that. You have to try to find a way to unlock this defense, and you're not doing that. You're just saying, hey, let's try him. Let's see if he can do it. And the only one that really worked out was Esteval, and that's just because he's a really good player. And you could tell he's got a lot of energy and excitement to prove what he's worth. But that's on Esteval for going out there and doing well. The sub is still just a basic, we're going to swap Gittins out. Neto can go to the left side, and Esteval can play here. That's too basic. I'm not saying rip up everything and go with like 2 defenders, 3 strikers, and all of that. But you do have to make some changes if things are not working, and at the time, they clearly weren't. But looking at individuals, starting with Sanchez, I mean, made a couple of decent saves on the disallowed goal. It was pretty disappointing that it was basically right here, and he just didn't react to it. I mean, some of it is the moving in front of him, but I do think his reactions have been shown that they're quality enough. He should be getting a hand there, or at least putting himself in the way. James defensively did okay, but on the ball, really needed a lot more today. Achimpong had to come in because Tosin's out injured. Hopefully it's not too long, but I think this shows we need to go get another center back. And Maresca was talking about it. This just shows we cannot be relying on Achimpong as a defender. He's good for his age. But even I was saying before Colwell got injured, he probably needs to go out on loan because he needs some more time before he's going to be up to this level. And today showed that. I mean, he wasn't the only one, but of the defenders and the keeper who were giving away the ball, he was one of the most guilty of it. His passes just weren't good enough. His dribbling is fine. He did dribble out of some pressure situations, but passing really was poor today. And then defensively, Mateta was sort of bullying him. He made a couple of good challenges here and there, but on the whole of it, his defense just wasn't quite good enough today. So we really need to go get another center back. Again, hopefully Tosin's injury is not too bad and we'll have him back next week, but Achimpong should not be the first player coming off the bench to go in there. And I know Fofana is on the bench, so there's a chance he could come in next week, but I don't trust him either, based on his performances last season. Chalaba, I think defensively looked pretty good on the ball, hit or miss. Sometimes looked a little scary with it. Sometimes his passing is really good. It's very up and down. So he's a player that I like having back there because of his defensive capabilities, but based on the fact that Maresca for some reason wants to stick with this idea from last season where we're going to pass with our defense a lot and we're going to keep our possession 60 to 70% of the time in defense, we're going to need a better ball playing center back in that case because Chalaba isn't up to that level. And then Cucurella, I thought played well, did what he normally does, gets up and down, makes good defensive challenges, is a nuisance. The only critique I really have is I think he's been better going forward in the past. When you think about what he's done in and around the box last season, I think he's a lot more capable than what we saw today. But obviously that's not his main reason for being out there, so I'm not going to hold it against him too much. Into the midfield, Caicedo broke up the play quite a bit today. I think there were a couple of times when he was very isolated in there, and I'll talk about why in just a second. I think overall showed his quality as defensive mid, broke up a lot of the counterattacks that they were putting on us. So he did what he was supposed to do. But Fernandez, this is where I feel like we were really lacking in midfield today. First of all, on the ball, he's a lot better than this. This was an awful game for him. As I said, he lost control of the ball a few times. He had one cross in the first half that was absolutely atrocious. And not even under pressure either. It's not like there was a defender that was putting him off. He just wildly swung at it. I don't know what happened with him. But defensively as well, he just really wasn't giving us much in the midfield. So it felt like it was mostly Caicedo in there trying to defend against 2 or 3 Palace midfielders. Cucurella ended up having to slide out a lot because Gittins wasn't really getting back to defend against Munoz. So you really needed Enzo to step in there and help out with Caicedo. And he just wasn't. He was constantly behind the play. Even when he did get back, it felt like he was more so diving in than he was actually putting in a good challenge or blocking off runners. So for me, Enzo today, probably our worst performance on the pitch. Getting up into the front four, first of all, Gittins looked nothing like what we saw in preseason. That willingness to take on defenders, get past them, didn't see any of it today. I think I saw it one time, actually. But most of the time, he looking to cut back, looking to play backwards, very much looking like what we saw from Sancho last season. So I don't know what happened. Between preseason and now, I don't know if Maresca got in his ear and said, hey, we don't do that here. We don't try to be dangerous. We don't try to take on our man. We try to play safe. We want to be safe. So just play it backwards. It's either that or his confidence somehow dropped in a week to the point where he doesn't feel like he can take on a defender. But yeah, he was not giving us anything what we saw from him in preseason, and our left side really hurt because of it. Neto on the right side looked a little bit more dangerous, but the crossing was pretty bad today from him. Even his shooting today wasn't really that good. And I know I put this in the intro, but yeah, we need to talk about the shooting today as well. I don't think I saw one quality shot from anybody. If you look at the body position from all of these players as they're shooting, they're all leaning back. They're all just swinging a leg at it. None of them are over the ball. None of them are driving through it. For me, it's one of two things. It's either lazy because they're just swinging a leg at it. They don't really want to put any effort behind it, or it's just a lack of focus. They're just swinging a leg without any care about how they're positioned, about the technique behind it. It's just, gotta hit it. And so many of these shots were awful. But yeah, Neto was one of the guilty parties for sure. Palmer was as well, though, into the middle. And I can't blame it all on him because, again, he's playing on the left side of the center attacking mid, which is not where he's more effective. But even then, I feel like there were some moments when he got on the ball and his passing just wasn't quite there. Again, the connectivity between him and the players around him, it felt like it was gone from what we saw in preseason. And I don't know why. I don't know what's caused that, but it looked like they were making different runs than where he's playing, or there's a pass that he's expecting he can make and then nobody's there and it's going right to a Palace defender. But yeah, based on his performance from what we saw in preseason, this is back to what we saw from second half of the season, Palmer, where he's just not really doing much with the little bit of possession that he is getting. And Pedro up top, didn't see hardly anything from him. And again, this is where I have to ask, is it Maresca that told him to just stay up top? Is it Maresca that told him to not really get out of his position? Because that's what it looked like. Because what we saw from him before, he does like to drop in. He draws defenders with him. He likes to get on the ball and try to make the play happen. Today, it was stay in between the two center defenders, wait for the ball to come to you, and then the defenders put pressure on him, and he's stuck between two players. And it's hard to keep possession under those conditions. So I don't know for sure whether that was Maresca or not, but it definitely looked like there was something different about his performance today than what we saw in preseason and in the Club World Cup. The way he played in those matches was so much different. Again, I think Pedro and Jackson are very similar in their style of play. I just think, obviously, Pedro's a better finisher. But because of that, I think from last season, we have a blueprint on how not to play, because we saw some of the matches whenever we just left Jackson up top and isolated him up there and kept trying to play out from the back and not really getting it forward to him. That's when we were least effective. Today, same thing. We didn't get the ball up to Pedro. We were not utilizing him, trying to get him on the ball deeper, trying to get him involved in the play, and we were hurting because of it, because Palace didn't really have to do much to defend us. They were able to just sort of stay where they were because we weren't really moving them around. But finally, the subs that came on, obviously Esteval came on with the most excitement, the most energy, created a lot of good chances. He was really working himself, working the Palace defense too. But you could tell as the game wore on, Palace sort of figured out how to isolate him over there and basically make it a 2v1 situation. And he did win a couple of those still, because he's a very talented player. But the lack of movement from the striker to get out there and help him, the lack of movement from Fernandez and then Santos to get out there and give him an option, it was keeping him from truly being able to do much with it, because his only option was try to dribble 2 or 3 players. He can do that sometimes. He can't do it all the time, though. Then Delap comes on up top, had one decent chance, but really didn't change much. Part of the problem with that being we were not really putting in good quality crosses today, and I think that's where he would be more effective in this type of game whenever it is so packed in. He's a big body, You put in a ball, there's a good chance he can at least fight for it and cause some trouble, maybe cause it to drop down for somebody else to finish. But we really weren't putting in good crosses. The crosses were overhit or they just weren't coming in. They were driven in, which isn't going to help whenever you got a big body. Yeah, unfortunately, just didn't see much from Delap changing the game today. And then Santos and Gusto come in. Gusto thankfully didn't cause any issues, but I will say I was so frustrated with him when it's about the 90th minute and he's coming up the pitch and he's in that space. He's got Esteval out to his right and he decides, you know what? I know I haven't scored. I know I keep trying this and I know I keep wildly missing the goal, but I'm going to try to shoot from outside the box again. If I'm Maresca, anytime Gusto shoots from outside the box, he's done for a couple of weeks. I realize we don't have a whole lot of players that can replace him, but he would be done for a couple of weeks. For me, I guess I should clarify, if we're in the position we were in today where it's 0-0 or we're down a goal or whatever, we need a goal, and a player like Gusto, who has shown basically no quality in the final third in the past 2 years, and he's not scored a goal, and he's really going to shoot from outside the box when there are plenty of other options. Unless he's testing the keeper, he's benched for the next couple of weeks. That's so stupid. I was furious. I about threw something at the TV, because what a dumbass. But outside of that, he was fine. Santos came in, did okay in there, a little bit more energy than Fernandez was giving us at the time. Did have the one header that was decent, but then also had the shot where he's leaning back. He had a better option with Palmer, so it kind of ended up balancing itself out in the end that he created a decent chance and then wasted a great chance. But I will say this felt very much like a game from last season when you've got all of these big teams that came out and showed from day one, hey, we're here. Even Tottenham went out. Yeah, it was Burnley at home, but they still put 3 past them at least to show that they're not sorry this year. But you got City putting 4 past Wolves. You got Liverpool smacking Bournemouth 4-2. Bournemouth's defending was atrocious, to be fair. And I'm assuming Arsenal are probably going to put like 5 or 6 past Man U today. Like, all these teams are coming out from day one and showing what they're capable of. And then we go out there and just show none of what we saw in preseason. Show none of that excitement. Give the fans none of the hope that we got from watching preseason, from watching the Club World Cup, seeing some of these guys come in with this new exciting mentality. Seemed like Maresca finally gave up on the dull tactics. Game 1, we're back. We're back to last season. We'll struggle at points in the season. It feels more so like we're going to creep into the top 4 again instead of actually being in the top 4. And that's not an improvement. That's where we were last season. So for me, Maresca's got a lot of work to do in a week, and the transfer team have a lot of work to do as well, because we need another option at center back. Even if we get Tosin back, we still need another option out there. And then left wing, we got to get something, because obviously Gittins can improve from what we saw today, but we're going to need another option over there so that way he doesn't get comfortable putting in performances like this. But I think that's all for me, so let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts in this match? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea previews, reviews, and talks. And until next time, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you all later. Peace out.